D-Mace, Fingan, and Donick 1025, The Game. Broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, and David Janes here with you. We hope you are having a wonderful Tuesday, a beautiful day in our fair city. Willie Donick is live in Toronto, where the Nashville Predators continue their road trip. They won yesterday in Ottawa. They look to win another game tonight against the Toronto Maple Leafs. Puck drop at 6, pregame at 5, right here on 1025 The Game. Barry Trotz, Predators GM, who normally joins us at 5, will join us at 4 since we have an abbreviated show today. Willie Donick, you missed absolutely nothing yesterday. How are you?
Oh, I am doing well, guys. It's been great to just dive in on the road, back-to-backs for the first 2 road games, a little travel in between, and an enormous news story while we were in progress yesterday. How about that?
Hey, you couldn't have asked for a better Monday, could you? You got a win, and you got some news that had people talking in the city.
Well, did you have some FOMO, Willie? Did you wish that you could just leave?
I did not.
Okay, fine. Fair enough.
Hey, Will, listen. Stay someplace where you're winning, okay?
That sounds good to me.
Exactly.
The Predators, unlike the Titans, are actually winning games. So we'll see what happens with the Predators tonight. Again, they take on the Toronto Maple Leafs. That game starts at 6. Pregame starts here at 5 o'clock on 1025 The Game. So who heard or watched Chad Brinker and Mike Borgonzi's news conference yesterday? I'm sure a lot of you heard it, but in order to capture its true essence, you had to watch it. You had to look at Chad Brinker's face. You had to look at Mike Borgonzi's face. Mike Borgonzi looked like he wished he could be literally anywhere else. Okay? Fun fact about me. I've had to have a couple of root canals because of a baseball mishap I had when I was 11 years old. And one time, as I was having one of those root canals, the Novocaine wore off, and I could feel the dentist drilling into my tooth. It hurt like hell. I bet Mike Borgonzi would have done that instead of having to sit up there at that news conference yesterday. He looked like death. To be perfectly honest with you, I can't think of another word to describe it. But Chad Brinker and Mike Borgonzi attempted to address the firing of Brian Callahan. And Chad Brinker was asked a question that a lot of you have as Titans fans. And I'll just put it plainly. Why the hell should we trust you, Chad Brinker, to lead this team back to, I was going to say prominence, but I'll even just take relevancy or relevance. Not even just prominence. I'll take relevance. And here's how Chad Brinker answered that question.
3 of these kind of decisions at this point. Why should fans trust you to be able to get this right based on the plan, since the plan hasn't gone right now 3 different times?
Yeah, I've been entrusted to do this job. And that's all I can say is we're going to work to get this right. Both Mike and I come from places where we've won a lot of football games. We got a front office that I think between all of us, we got 9 Super Bowls. We've seen what winning football looks like, and we know what that looks like. So we're going to do everything we can to support the staff currently. We've our players. It's still early in the season. And there's a lot of work to be done. There's still a lot of football to play. So I think, we're just as frustrated as our fans are. And like I said in the opening statement, we're going to get this right. And we're going to build a football program that everyone can be proud of. And we're acknowledging right now it hasn't been good enough. And that's why we're up here answering these questions, because we haven't been good enough, and we're committed to getting better.
So that was part of the response. At one point, he mentioned the 9 Super Bowl rings that the front office has collectively. Anyway, Willie, don't you feel inspired by that? What, if anything, stood out to you about what Brinker and Borgonzi, but mostly Brinker, had to say yesterday?
Well, nothing stood out. There's nothing you can say to inspire where they are right now. They keep finding a new low, like the Delta House and Animal House after the toga party. They hit a new low. So there's nothing you can say. I don't like analyzing what was said. He could have said anything and it would not have resonated. The dynamic I hit on was what you just mentioned, Adam, was that Borgonzi really didn't take any leadership at all. He kind of deferred. He just kind of sat there for 80% of it. He said very little. Brinker did all of the talking. So I found that interesting. Because I feel like Borgonzi at some point has got to pretty soon take a little ownership, take the lead, or else he's going to be the next guy that they just line up and let go and say it's his fault. Because right now they continue to spin their wheels. They fell into all of the traps that they've been falling into now for a long time. And it's disappointing. And look, I'm not here to judge Chad Brinker. I think he's doing his best to try to set up an infrastructure that works. I'm very, very curious if Amy Adams just showed up whenever they normally talk on Sunday night or Monday morning and said, "This is it, I've had enough." I don't know if it was their idea or her idea. I have my suspicion, but it seems like how predictable was this 9 months ago? Very predictable in my mind.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anything they're doing right now is a surprise to anyone. Borgonzi or Brinkert, excuse me, not Borgonzi, Brinkert, talks about the 9 championships and being a part of winning football and knowing what winning football looks like. Well, Brinkert, my son graduated with honors at BU, and now he's studying for his MCAT. Has he been around surgeons? Yes. Does he know what surgery sort of look like in a waiting room? I mean, in the surgery room? Absolutely. Does he know what it smell like? Absolutely, he does. But is he ready to do surgery? No, he's not. Will he be? Eventually, he will be. But is he ready now? No. Same thing here. Yeah, you know what it looks like, but are you ready? Are you ready to see all of that through? Do you know how to see it through? There's one thing to be a part of something. Y'all made that mistake with Brian Callahan because he was a part of something. Don't y'all get it? Don't y'all see the theme here? And I'm really talking to Amy. Don't you see the theme here? Learn on the job. You ain't got time to learn on the job in this league. Those days are over. Unless you have a Jaden Daniels that just hits right away. And even his coach has experience being a head coach. But in this league, there's no more learning on the fly with head coaches. Why? Because owners typically are too impatient for that. Because they want their team winning now. They want to be able to brag because that's what it's about. Because all y'all making about the same amount of money. Yeah, one may be worth more than the other, but that's until you sell. Then you reap the benefits of that. But as of now, y'all all making around the same amount of money. So it's just about the bragging rights of winning a championship. And what you're doing and what we're seeing is that you're hiring people that have never done the job. Okay? It worked out for you the first time because you hired Robertson and then you hired Vrabel. But you had a team ready. That's what everybody forgets. You had a team ready to go. That team, they were just bubbling. They were ready to, if the right coach just stepped in, they were ready to go and the right coach stepped in. He ended up having his problems later on, but the right coach stepped in. So you were able to get over that. But once we start to see that sort of level out and diminish some, you started to hire people that were new to the job and see what has happened to your franchise. And that's what your fan base is thinking. That's what they're thinking. I'm just repeating what they're thinking and what they call our show and start saying. That's all I'm doing. But here we go again with the Tennessee Titans. So this go around, I hope they get this right. Because if they don't get it right, then it seems like Brinker has isolated himself. It really does. I'm not saying that Miss Amy won't, fire him eventually too if he don't get the job done. But as of now, he's been insulated. He's been Teflon Don with everybody. And then he says, I know what winning looks like. I've been around championships. Well, okay, show us. That's all the fan bases. They don't want to hear about the damn championships you've been around. I don't want to hear it. Nobody wants to hear it. Bring a championship here. Bring winning football here. Since you've been a part of the organization, there hasn't been any winning football.
It's reminiscent to me, perhaps this is a stretch, but it's reminiscent to me of when the Titans hired Brian Callahan and they listed all of the great quarterbacks he worked with.
Mm-hmm.
He worked with Peyton Manning with the Denver Broncos. Now, I can't recall exactly what Brian Callahan's role was with the Denver Broncos, but it was early in his coaching career, again, if I'm not mistaken. So, one, how much work did Brian Callahan really do with Peyton Manning? And two, do you think Peyton Manning really learned anything from Brian Callahan? Peyton Manning was already a Hall of Fame quarterback by the time Brian Callahan arrived in Denver. So I hear what you're saying, Derek, and that's what I'm thinking. When did the Green Bay Packers win that Super Bowl? 15 years ago, thereabouts? I don't know what Chad Brinker was doing in that organization. And I don't want to take away from the fact that he was part of a winning organization. But how much of a role did you really have in the Green Bay Packers winning the Super Bowl that season? Mike Borgonzi won multiple Super Bowls as a member of the Kansas City Chiefs. He was the assistant general manager, right? You have more of a say in what's going on when you're the assistant GM versus, I don't know what the role is. I should have looked it up, that Brinker had when he was with the Green Bay Packers. So it just feels empty. It just feels like, Derek, an empty thing to say, like, hey, I've been around winner. Dave Ziegler, Reggie McKenzie, Mike Borgonzi, they've been around winners too. Therefore, we know what it takes. It's a nice thing to say. I heard Joe Rexrode say this morning, that it's something that you should absolutely say when you're being hired.
Yes.
During an introductory news conference.
Yes.
It's a different thing to say when you are trying to convince the fans that you know what you're doing.
Absolutely. He couldn't have said it any better, meaning Rexrode. That is something you say when you get hired and everybody's happy and everybody's elated. Everybody's like, yes, we're going to win a championship. Let's go Brinker. Let's go. That's what you say then. But when your ass ain't won no games, you can't say that because there's no proof to what you're saying. Yes, there's proof on the other side. But what about the new marriage? There's no proof of what you did, you say you did in the old marriage. There's no proof in the new marriage. So why are we even reverting back to that? Until you show me proof, then we can start talking about it. A lot of wolf tickets being sold, a lot of them. But this team hasn't been able to get over that hump. They do one thing you think is good, and then they do another thing that sort of sets them back. And it just seems like I don't know if it's, I'm not going to say they don't know what direction they want to go in, because I'm sure they do. They're getting paid a lot of money, and I'm sure they're smart enough. But just because you're getting paid a lot of money and you're smart enough doesn't mean that the road that you're traveling, you are the one that needs to be traveling down that road with this team.
One texter says, have Chad and Mike been a part of more Super Bowls or more Titans wins? That's a good question. By the way, David Janes tells me that Chad Brinker was a scouting assistant at the time that the Green Bay Packers won the Super Bowl. Willie, you did not have an opportunity yesterday to address the fact that the Titans fired Brian Callahan to begin with. I want you to take a few moments to share your thoughts on that.
Well, one thing to add to what Derek said about Chad Brinker, like I said, it would not have mattered. We've got Jack White. We've got the pump-up video playing here. They're testing it out. It's working properly, by the way. This place is really an awesome place, Scotiabank Arena. But what I thought was interesting was not that he started talking about the Super Bowls, because I would have too. But what he didn't do, Brinker, if he's going to do the talking, he should have taken more accountability. He's the common thread. He's the guy that brought in Callahan, Borgonzi. Like he's the common thread. So I would have given it a little bit more passion of, hey, this is on me. The buck stops with me. I'm the guy trying to put this system together, and we haven't gotten there. I didn't hear that quite as much as I would have liked to. And as far as Callahan goes, you know, there was a lot of discussion. They admitted there was a lot of discussion at the end of last season as to whether they should have moved forward for Callahan or not. But they moved forward with Callahan. And not only did they do that, they allowed Callahan to have a huge, it appeared to me, role in the process of evaluating the players, including the quarterbacks. And so he was the guy that jumped in there. Remember his quote at the day after the draft that I almost flipped my lid on, where he said, hey, when you find your guy, it doesn't matter. The other picks don't matter. He's the coach. So it sounded to me like they were saying, hey, you like this, Brian? Yeah, I like this. Let's go with Cam Ward. They doubled down on Brian Callahan only to do a 180 after 6 games. I mean, that's on Brinker. You committed to this guy. So all your questions, Adam, I think are valid questions about, what was his real role with all these great things on his resume. But they hired him and then they doubled down on him. And now all of a sudden they've decided he's an idiot. Basically, it's all his fault. We weren't seeing growth. There's a breakdown there.
By the way, Derek, Jeremy in Clarksville on our text line says, my uncle was a high-paid diesel mechanic. I was around him a lot. I am not a highly skilled diesel mechanic.
Absolutely. So there we go. This thing has the potential to, and now that I'm looking at it, the interim hire, I think this is a good thing. I really do think this is a good thing, because I hope now that just let McCoy coach. Just let him coach. There was a reason, and I kept bringing this up, like, there's a reason they didn't give a number to wins and losses because they wanted to, in their interpretation, they wanted to interpret what development was. That's what it was. It didn't have, he could have went, because this organization has done it before. They did it to Malarkey. So when you do it to a guy that's winning, had a winning senior, you end up still firing him. That says something. So when you come into the season and you don't give this is what we need to see, people. Right here, not just growth and development. That's so broad. It is so broad. Yeah, I want to see. Of course, you want to see your rookie quarterback develop. You want to see that. But what does it look like to us? Tell us, what does it look like? Either you didn't know what it looked like, and I'm not buying that. I'm not like other people. I'm not buying that you don't know, because you do know. That's $1 billion company. You do know. Or you said that so that then you can make your own determination on what development was. Either way, because you talked about how the defense was good and they developed. Okay, they developed. You talked about how the special teams developed and they're good. Okay. So if those two areas are developing, then it's up to us to say whether this team as a whole, because the offense ain't doing what we paid you to do. Well, he gave up his play calling. And if you really wanted to give him an opportunity, you would have said, Bo Hardegree, we're going to let Bo do this for about 6-7 games and see how this goes and let him manage. I'm not saying they shouldn't have fired. That's not what I'm saying, people. I'm not. But when you talk about developing at the beginning of the season, you don't tell anybody what it looks like. And then when they ask you the question again, and you really don't give us an answer to it, but yet and still you tell us the same thing you did at the beginning of the season, we're not believing you. There is no evidence of all this stuff that you talked about. None. No evidence of patience. And the fan base is like, good. I'm glad they ain't show patience. I'm glad he out of here. But there's no evidence of patience. There's no evidence of winning, even though you won 9 Super Bowls. Is that what he said? 9 or 6?
9.
9 Super Bowls and a bunch of winning. And that is great that that happened. And that's what you sold the fan base when you got here. And you owe it to the fan base to start showing them that. You owe it to other guys that have played at that organization to start showing them that. What you said. You want the players to do it. You figure out a way to do it then. That's all.
615-737-1025. Our phone and text lines are driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. We will take your reaction to Chad Brinker, mostly Chad Brinker. Mike Borgonzi was also there at the news conference at 7:30 last night. We'll take your reaction to that and the fallout from the Titans firing of Brian Callahan. 615-737-1025. One note, speaking of Mike McCoy, he held his news conference earlier today. No shocker here. Bill Callahan, no longer a member of the Titans organization as well, but the rest of the coaching staff remains in place. Bo Hardigree will continue to call the plays for the Tennessee Titans. 615-737-1025. Coming up next, one person was conspicuous by her absence yesterday. Where was Amy Adams Strunk? We discuss that next. 615-737-1025. DVD is presented to you by Bax Homeworks, which transforms kitchens, bathrooms, and living spaces into places you can't wait to come home to. Get a free estimate now at baxhomeworks.com.
Derek Mason here. If you've injured yourself in a motorcycle accident, go to lawtigers.com for your free case evaluation. Even if your accident was months ago, you have nothing to lose by calling Law Tigers. Insurance company want to pay out as little as possible or frankly, nothing at all. Law Tigers make sure you get the compensation you deserve and doesn't get paid until your case has been settled. Look, they understand how much your bike gear is worth to you. So they will help you get it all repaired or better yet, replace. Ain't nothing like a shiny new helmet or some shiny new handlebars to fix that bike. But here it is. Law Tigers is the resource the motorcycle community turns to when in need. So whether it's to support you at an event or if they see you down, broken down on the side of the road, with Law Tigers, you'll never ride alone. So call 1-800-LAW-TIGERS or visit lawtigers.com. Law Tigers is powered by Freeman and Fuson, and you can find them in Nashville, located at 2126 21st Ave South. That's Law Tigers, Tennessee's motorcycle lawyers.
Where is she right now?
Where? What do you mean?
Where's Amy Adams Strunk right now?
Yeah, she's at her home.
Why isn't she here?
I'm here representing her.
Boy, did I get a kick out of that last night from Paul Kaharski and Chad Brinker at the post Brian Callahan firing news conference at 7:30 last night. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan here with you. Amy Adams Strunk, not at the news conference, not a surprise. As Chad Brinker said in that news conference, he has been empowered by Amy Adams Strunk to speak on her behalf. And I've seen a lot of differing opinions on this. There are people who have said Amy Adams Strunk absolutely needs to be there. She needs to show her face. She needs to be held accountable for the dysfunction of her franchise. Then there are other people who have said, who cares? Here's where I stand on the Amy Adams Strunk thing, Willie and Derek. And you guys can let me know if you agree or disagree. If she wants to be an absentee owner, fine, but you must remain an absentee owner. So stay out of football decisions. I've heard Paul Kaharski, speaking of Paul Kaharski, I've heard Paul Kaharski say this, and I agree. Stay out of the head coach hiring process. The coach will be presented to you when the hiring is made. Shake his hand, meet his family, take some photos, stay out of it. And hopefully when, this team becomes competitive again, don't be glad handing at all of the tailgates, and don't be willing all of a sudden to answer questions. Stay out of it. If you want to be an absentee owner and empower Chad Brinker and Mike Borgonzi to speak for you and do with whatever they want to do with the organization, that's fine. I've got no problem with that. Of course, Titans fans don't trust Chad Brinker, but she trusts him apparently. That's fine. But if you are out, stay out. Do not come back when things are going well. Stay out. Derek, do you agree with me?
I understand the sentiment. I do. I'm not saying that you're wrong. I'm just being a realist. It ain't gonna happen. It ain't. When this team starts winning, because I believe they will, it may not be with Brinker and Borgonzi or Brinker or whoever, but I believe they will start winning. She's gonna be front. That's just the way it is. It's her team, her dad. This is his baby. And now she's taking it over. And if she's not around now, best believe if they start winning Super Bowls or start really going at it and being more competitive and winning the division, you're going to see more of her. That's just the way it is. And I'm neither here to say it's wrong or not. But what I will say is this. As an owner, you don't have to be Jerry Jones. You don't. You don't have to be, any one of these other owners that that wants to be, just as much a part of what's going on than the players do, and the players are, or the coaches are. You could be that. I mean, you could be that if you want to. So it doesn't matter to me either or. But my thing is, there were decisions made this season. There were some real hard decisions made. And I'm just talking about when the season started. I'm not talking about before the season. Y'all traded away a young potential. He's one of your starters. Bright. Yes, he had some things to clean up, but he's bright. Future looked pretty good. Y'all traded him away and didn't nobody from upper management speak. You didn't. The GM didn't. The supreme ruler of football didn't. Nobody. And then your coach gets fired. You fired him. Didn't you? Again, this is what I'm sure this is what your fan base is thinking. And I honestly, I'm a part of that fan base too. Wasn't you around when Callahan got hired? I think she was, if I'm not mistaken. She was around when Callahan got hired. And I'm sure she probably didn't do all the legwork because she shouldn't have to. That's why she hired Brinker. And then Brinker Boganzi.
If I recall correctly, she was at the news conference when the Titans hired Brian Callahan, but she was not present when, I don't even remember. I assume that the Titans held a news conference when they fired Rand Carthon. I don't think she was there for that. She was not there when Mike Borgonzi was introduced as the new GM. I do remember that as well. So anyway.
So you had opportunities to be front and center because this is your organization. I understand what Brinker's saying. She has delegated that responsibility to me, so I speak for the owner. The fans don't want to hear you. They want to hear Amy. They want to hear the owner of her team. I mean, either way, it's like, either you're there or you're not. I'm not going to make a big fuss about it. I would have liked to see you there, but then y'all would have probably made it worse. So it's good that she was not there because I'm not sure in this, and I'm not talking about her aptitude, but I'm not sure under that setting that it would have went right. I'm just not. So maybe it was good that she wasn't there, but I'm sure she will at the end of the season. I'm hoping now she's going to have at least 3 months to formulate why she chose or why they chose to move on from Brian Callahan. She's going to be able to give us, articulate that to us. So I will be waiting on that day.
Willie, let me read you something from Paul Kaharski. He tweeted this last night. It got a lot of reaction. His reasons as to why Amy Adams Strunk should be at a press conference about yet another firing. City and state funding, major portion of Titans' new stadium while she fields horrific product and faces no consequences. When proxies face the difficult questions, things remain easy for her. She loved tailgating when they were winning, now hides when they lose. In parentheses, front runner. If she actually had to think these things through and answer for them, maybe it would be uncomfortable in a way where she'd really like to avoid such things in the future, but knew hiding was not possible, and it could help prompt better processes and decisions that could impact results. Certainly worth a shot, given how it's gone with her in hiding. Heightened accountability, never bad. Why defend/protect her? Your thoughts?
All good points. But this keeps coming back to the same thing because she's never going to do it. Like Derek said, she's going to continue to do what she wants to do. To my knowledge, she's never really taken open questions from the media for an extended period of time. It's been shielded, right? It's been one-on-one with an in-house interviewer. So she has been protected from having to do that. And that wouldn't be a big thing, but it's very clear that she is making these decisions. She's the one that unless somebody tells me differently, this is another part of it. Every time they make a big move like this, and I mean a big move, and they've made a lot of them, it's been well chronicled, firing Robinson, and then hiring Rand Carthon, and then firing Vrabel, and then hiring Borgonzi. The same thing happens. People ask, hey, who made the decision? Was it Amy? Firing the special teams coach. Remember Vrabel a couple years ago, D. Mace had to fire the special teams coach on a Tuesday. He just showed up and said, oh, by the way, we fired the special teams coach after they had that thing. But nobody seems to be willing to admit, or everybody's put in that weird position where you have to out the owner and say, yep, you know what? Amy did it. I didn't really want to do it. Like Vrabel came close to doing it. He wanted to do. You could sense it. He was saying it without saying it, but basically saying, yeah, this is what the owner wanted. I got to do it. It happened with the Yankees when I was growing up all the time. George Steinbrenner used to do that all the time, even more than Amy Adams. But George Steinbrenner at least would say, yeah, I did it. I made the change. That's what I think Amy Adams at least would be able to take the heat off of Brinker and Borgonzi and said, yeah, I thought we needed to make a change. She rarely has done that. She has done it occasionally, but this is what gets me every time. Chad Brinker is kind of wishy-washy about it. Yeah, it was collaborative. Yeah, we always meet. It's very secretive about it. But here is the central question I always say. Who is she talking to? I don't know.
Brinker.
What? She's talking to him only?
That's the way it seems.
There are other people in that football office. Like, who is the inner circle where they're sitting around going, "Yeah, we got to do this." Is it her on her own, or or is it the other way where Brinker's going to her and saying it's time to? But it looks bad on Brinker because they put their coach up there on the podium the day after they drafted Cam Ward and turned down an enormous haul from the Giants, and they let their coach, who was clearly out on the limb, and everybody kind of saw it, but they allowed him go up and say, "Yeah, I think he's the man. He's going to do it," and it didn't even matter what the other offers were. How ridiculous is that? That is a complete two-sided coin that doesn't add up. So it just the chain of command is way out of whack.
615-737-1025. We will continue to take your reaction. Trevor Maddich will join us coming up next. We'll get his thoughts on everything that's been going on with the Tennessee Titans. We will talk to Trevor coming up next. 615-737-1025. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, 1025 The Game.
Hey, this is Derek Mason. You heard me tell you about Dr. Lodge and his staff over at Cool Springs MD for some time. If you set out to lose weight, chances are it's not the first time setting a goal to shed some extra pounds only to face disappointment. But I got some news, and it's good because at Cool Springs MD, Dr. Lodge and his team understands the frustration of this cycle, and that is why they offer a different approach to weight loss with their comprehensive weight loss program, which is led by Dr. Jeffrey Lodge and addresses the root cause of weight gain with tailored nutrition, exercise, blood test supplements, and more. They will customize, keyword, customize a program specific, that's another keyword, to you and only you. So connect with Dr. Lodge at CoolSpringsMD.com today to schedule your appointment for a personalized weight loss plan just for you. That's Cool Springs MD, where your weight loss journey becomes a success story.
D. Mace, Vingan, and Donick 1025. The game, Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan here with you. Pleased to be joined on our phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, by Trevor Maddich, who is brought to you by Houston Clinic Orthopedics, when experience matters. Trevor, in the wake of the Titans firing Brian Callahan, that makes it 6 of the past 8 quarterbacks drafted number 1 overall, and each of the past 4 to have their head coaches fired during their rookie seasons. Cam Ward, Caleb Williams, Bryce Young, Trevor Lawrence, Baker Mayfield, and Jared Goff, the two who did not experience that. Joe Burrow and Kyler Murray. What is the common denominator between all of those situations?
I would say impatience. It can't be that all those coaches were horrible coaches that needed to be fired when they were fired, for goodness sake. Let them have some time to develop the quarterback that they were assumingly had a hand in drafting, for goodness sake. But right now we're in such a microwave society. We're in such a social media driven society where you post something on social media, and if you don't get immediate likes, then it's a failure. And 5 minutes later, you're desperately posting something new and trying to get immediate likes. And we're in a sugar high culture right now, and I think we're seeing that play out in sports. Now, there are times when you do need to move on. If a head coach is, in this case, Brian Callahan, if a head coach is not moving the team in the right direction, if they are going in the wrong direction, if they have lost the locker room, if they are clearly overmatched, if they're not up to the job, well, then, yes, I see that. But I can't imagine that all those coaches were not up to the job. It just seems like there's a combination of bad hires and impatient owners.
Mike McCoy, the interim head coach for the Tennessee Titans, and he's got 11 games with this group, and he does have a track record of success with some notable quarterbacks. He's been around the league for a long time. Trevor Lawrence had success under McCoy's tutelage with the Jaguars. Of course, Phillip Rivers, when McCoy was a head coach for the Chargers. Hell, even Tim Tebow had his best success with Mike McCoy as the offensive coordinator with the Denver Broncos. What can we expect from Mike McCoy? And do you think that we can see a better version of Cam Ward over these next 11 games?
Well, hey, I watched Tom Brady play a lot of football on TV, and I've actually watched him broadcast football games too. I want to throw my hat in the ring because of my association with Tom Brady. And so there you go. The question is, what did you do to help contribute to those people? Or what were you able to learn by watching those who did have a hand in the development of those great quarterbacks? And how do you plan to implement that yourself? And I think that Mike McCoy has a couple of advantages here as an interim coach. And one of them is that he's a former head coach, and that gives him the mistakes that he himself made, the lessons that he learned, things that he would do differently, things that he would not do at all, things that he didn't do that he will do now. Those are things that you tend to do in your second job when you fail at your first job. And as I listened to him in the press conference today, Mike McCoy, I was impressed, because what's the first job of a head coach? First job is not to be a brilliant play caller. The first job of a head coach is to be a strong leader. There is one guy driving the bus, and that's it. And anybody that doesn't like it needs to fear the coach if they don't pull in the same direction. That's important. The leadership is important. Coach needs to set the culture. And I like the way that he talked about culture. As a matter of fact, that's one of the first things he kind of talked about in the press conference was togetherness. And the second thing he talked about was accountability. Those two things are part of setting a culture. And then you set expectations and accountability to those expectations. And have we seen that under Brian Callahan? I think what we saw was a coach doing the play calling and head coaching for the first time, and he wasn't up to it. It's even hard for me to blame Brian Callahan for things going the way that they did, because the initial hire was the problem with Callahan. It wasn't the firing. It was the initial hire. He wasn't ready for this moment. He may be down the road, but he wasn't now. And McCarthy talks like a guy who understands the job of the head coach is not to have a decided schematic advantage. The job of the head coach is to get everybody pulling the wagon in the same direction and fearing the consequences if they don't. And I liked the steady nature of Mike McCoy's presentation in this press conference. It's just the press conference, but I was kind of happy with what I heard.
We're talking with Trevor Maddich, ESPN, NFL and college football analyst. Now, Trevor, I hear you, and you're right. And I thought about it. I'm like, man, maybe this was the right thing to do from the standpoint of naming McCoy the coach, because he has had experience. And in a situation like this, you don't have time for that other stuff. You need somebody that's done it. And he was successful at a point. But it's to at least stabilize whatever's going on. But with that being said, knowing where this team is at, even the front office, can he even do it? Because we know one thing we know is that when you fire a head coach, typically you're doing it at the end of the season. You hire your new coach, and he has a whole off season to build a culture. And sometimes even that doesn't work at the beginning. So I'm not sure how this is going to work. I know McCoy is going to give it everything he has, but I'm not sure it's going to work because he hasn't been able to build, the culture that he wants. It takes time. And right now, he don't have any time to do that. He has to hit the ground running with whatever they have in place now.
Yeah, Derek, I agree with you. When I talk about culture, I'm talking about ideally this is what you want your head coach to do. It's one of the things that he needs to do. But you're right. It takes time, and it takes bringing in the right players that fit your culture and all of those things. You don't just wave a wand and all of a sudden you've got a good culture. But there are a couple of things that he can do if the players are willing to respond to it. And one of those things is for the players to kind of reset, to kind of wipe clean what's happened so far this year mentally, and then move forward with excellent preparation. Excellent preparation. Jeff Simmons said that last week's practice before the Raiders game was just a terrible week of practice, right? And well, they played that way too. Well, they're capable of practicing with excellence, even if they're not capable of going to a Super Bowl this year because of talent. No matter how talented each individual Titans player is, he is capable of having excellent preparation. That means focus on everything he does. It doesn't mean run around full speed all the time, but it means that whatever you do as a walkthrough, as a half-speed drill, as a full-speed drill, whatever it is, you have urgency on each individual rep as if the Super Bowl depended on that rep. And that's easy to do for a drill or two or a practice. It's really hard to do over the course of an entire season. And this team will be a lot better if they stop doing things that hurt themselves. And that means practice with more urgency. So that's the first thing really that we'll need to see evidence of. We need to see evidence that they've practiced with excellence and with focus and urgency, and that'll show up if they play in the game up to their capability and they force the opponent to beat them instead of just making mistakes and allowing the opponent easy plays to basically beat themselves. And so that's something that they can get better at right now. And that's the part of the culture that Mike McCoy can instill now if the team leaders will take it and run with it. And if the entire team, instead of checking out because now, the coaching changed and all that, if the entire team will say, okay, right now we're going to do our part to try to turn this thing around. And clearly they have not had that attitude up until now.
Trevor Maddich is with us from ESPN. Trevor, around the league, you know a lot of people. It's the number one thing from 50,000 feet that gets reported is how often the Titans in the last 2-3 years have made major moves. Do you think that is a deterrent for them when they get around to holding a coach, assuming that McCoy does not retain the job, which is not impossible, right? They're trying to leave a little bit of space for that. But how much do you think their reputation has been hit because of the quick trigger here?
Yeah, it's definitely been hit. You don't want to come into a situation where if things don't turn around quickly enough, like microwave quickly enough, that you're going to get bounced. But at the same time, there are only 32 of these jobs. And every given year, 5 or so, 7 come up come open. And so, you tend to not say, I don't want that job. I'm just going to sit back and wait for a better one. And that better one might not show up. You got to kind of walk through a door when it's open. So I think that helps them. But I think from an ownership standpoint, I don't want to compare Amy Adams Strunk to Daniel Snyder, former owner of the Redskins, at all, because he had all kinds of problems that she doesn't have. But I do want to say this, that there came a point during the couple of decades that Snyder owned the Redskins that it became clear that nobody could win there. No coach, no first-round draft choice, nothing. It just wasn't going to happen because of the culture that was established by the owner down through the organization. And at one point, I actually said on local media in D.C. that at this point, and I remember the quote, at this point, Dan Snyder needs to hire a great GM, sign a bunch of blank checks, and then move to New Guinea. Don't pick up a newspaper or turn on a television. Just fish and shear sheep. And at the end of the year, someone can tell them what happened, right? Because owners, I have never known an owner to help a team win with their involvement. I have only known owners to help teams win by setting expectations, holding, the executives and coaches to accountability, and then stepping aside, keeping track of everything that's happening, but letting the football people run the show. And when you look at the best owners in the league, you look at Bob Kraft of New England. That's what he did. Bill Belichick and the people in the front office, he let those people do what was going on. And he knew every detail as to what was going on, but he didn't meddle with it. That was part of the problem with Dan Snyder, that every time something happened and Dan Snyder made a change, it taught the players in the locker room that we're all in it for ourselves individually, and we're not really a team because there's all kinds of changes that are happening at all times, and I just need to take care of my own. And that's a really bad way for a locker room to develop.
Trevor, you've got a quarterback who's young. He's taken a lot on his shoulders. He's valiantly trying to fight through this with not a lot of help. Now we got this going on. If you were a coach brought in or thinking about coming in, saying, hey, well, I'd go after that job. I want to do some things with Cam Ward. Would you be confident that they would give you the time to fix what is right now very broken?
I would hope so. But at the same time, that would be part of the interview process, right? I mean,
who's interviewing who? Just the question.
Yeah, that's right. And both would interview each other. And the truth of it is, while there's very few of these jobs available, if you want the best coaches, you need to convince them that you're good for them. I mean, look at Clark Lee. This is a college example, but Clark Lee, the head coach of Vanderbilt football, he came from defensive coordinator at Notre Dame. He's a Vanderbilt guy. He could have gone anywhere. He could have stayed at Notre Dame and competed for national championships as a coordinator, or he could have gone to basically any team he wanted to year after year as availability came open. But he chose to come back to Vanderbilt, and I had to think, I don't know this for a fact because I don't know the internal workings of his interview process, but I had to think that he was interviewing Vanderbilt as much as Vanderbilt interviewed him, and that he would have demanded from Vanderbilt certain ways of supporting him in the program, of investing money in certain specific places and allowing him time to be able to do what he needed to do and space to do what he needed to do in addition to that support. And I'm sure that if Vanderbilt had not told Clark Lee what he needed to hear from a standpoint of what he needed to turn Vanderbilt around, he wouldn't have come. And so that's the same kind of thing we're seeing now with the Titans. I mean, the Titans can get, if they make the right choices, a very good head coaching candidate, and hire that guy. But they will need to as much prove to the coach that they are worthy of him as he is worthy of them, if that coach really is that capable of a coach.
Trevor Matich has been our guest on D-Mates, Vingen, and Donick. He joins us every Tuesday, and he is brought to you by Houston Clinic Orthopedics, when experience matters. Trevor, great stuff as always. We'll catch up next week.
Thanks, Adam. Thanks, guys.
615-737-1025. Predators GM Barry Trotz will join us coming up next. The Predators are in Toronto to take on the Maple Leafs. Puck drop at 6. We will talk to Barry Trotz coming up next. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, 1025 The Game.
Hey, let's tell you about Loan Pronto. Remember, if you're trapped in a high rate mortgage, if you got stuck with it and it's a little higher than you'd like, lowest mortgage rates in a good while are going on right now through Loan Pronto and their rate reduction home loan program. Streamlined, low cost way to slash your house payments by hundreds of dollars a month. So if that sounds good to you, it should. And you should call right now and see if you can lock into a better fixed rate. Close in as little as 2 weeks. No appraisal needed in most cases, and you can skip your next 2 house payments entirely. So if that sounds good on your budget, it should. So call right now and find out more. 615-499-5780 and get a free, no obligation quote. 615-499-5780 or visit loanpronto.com. That's loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval, NMLSconsumeraccess.org.
D. Mace, Finnegan, and Donick 1025. The Game, broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, and David Janes here with you. Pleased to be joined on our phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, by Predators General Manager Barry Trotz. The Predators, coming off of a 4-1 win in Ottawa yesterday afternoon, take the ice in a couple of hours against the Toronto Maple Leafs. Puck drop at 6, pregame at 5, right here on 1025 The Game. Barry, I want to start with UC Saros, who has been outstanding so far this season. I know he is not starting tonight. Justus Annunen will be starting tonight. But Saros has been excellent, as has the defense. And I know that that was a major emphasis for your team this offseason. How has all of that clicked so quickly for you here this season?
Well, I think a number of things. I think the coaches did a really good job of assessing, last year, sort of rejoining and re-looking at how we're going to have to play. What's the strength of UC Saros? What's the strength of our team? How can we fix it? How can we get the puck to our forwards? How can we become a little more structured? They went through all that process all summer. And I went through that with them, and I really liked their preparation. I think getting Luke Richardson into the fold with our group was really a really good add. Another set of eyes, former defenseman, a lot of respect, there. And then obviously what we did last year, all the way from when we did the Barron for Carrier trade, started building, getting some size on the back end, and a little bit more mobility. Then obviously in the summer, getting Nick Perbix, who's a 6'4", guy that gives us some length, and then obviously making the trade for Nick Hague, who unfortunately hasn't been able to play for us. Should be back, in the next week or two here. Who's a 6'6" guy who's right in the prime years of his career, and just fixing our defense, and then getting a healthy Roman Josi back is the biggest upgrade. And then systematically, the coaches have changed our D zone. Our forwards have made a real good commitment. Our veteran guys have been outstanding in terms of their connectivity on the ice. And all that being said, it allows Juice to be the goalie he can. Last year, I don't care who was in net for the Nashville Predators. You could have Ken Dryden in there, bless his heart. One of the greatest goaltenders of all time. Didn't matter who was in net for us last year. They had no chance the way we played.
Brady Martin did not play yesterday in Ottawa. He was scratched. Andrew Brunette said that Martin will also not play tonight. He said the team has a plan for him. What is that plan? And how do you weigh the benefits of keeping him around and not playing versus sending him back to juniors?
Well, I think that every situation is a little bit different. In our situation, we knew our schedule. We look at our schedule, we plan it. For a young guy like Brady, we said if he's going to play in the National Hockey League in our lineup in the future, he's going to be a top player for us. So you didn't see Brady playing on the fourth line. You saw him playing with Forsberg and O'Reilly. We tried to give him a glimpse at that. We also tried to shield him by playing him in the home game so that Andrew could get the trust of Brady, get the matchups he wants. And then obviously going on the road, we want to continue to have a good start here. We took him out because for Brady, who's a young guy, I mean, he could go at probably a 80% level and be very effective in junior, but he's going 100% all the time at this level. And so we wanted to play him in two games. So if he slipped, he could go right back in and feel comfortable about that. We went on the road. We pulled him out. We're going to probably have him out, these 2 games, and then we'll reassess it after that. But he sat with me for a period in the Ottawa game, and we talked about the game and different details. He sat with our development coaches, and as the game's happening, they're talking about different details. So, and just being around and practicing and learning the pro atmosphere is going to be very beneficial for him. So we're going to have to, decide when he goes in next. I don't like young players not playing for very long. We've got 4 games in 6 nights, so it's not like he's out for 6 weeks or anything like that. He's out for a couple days here, so I'm not worried about that. But I do, as we go along, we're assessing every game. We're assessing the ice time that he gets, the situations he's put in, and if he's not getting enough of those important situations, then at some point we would have him go back. But if he starts to thrive in some of those situations, or grow in those situations, then our mindset will be a little bit different. So, but we're probably fairly early in the process. I would say, we've got that 9-game window. He's played 2 games, but how far we want to stretch that 9-game window is really something we'll talk about after the game tonight. If Brady's in or not in the next couple of games.
Talking to Barry Trotz, Predators general manager. Nashville versus Toronto tonight, the Maple Leafs, and our coverage will begin at 5 o'clock Central. Barry, Jonathan Marchessault had another really good game. He's off to a good start. You mentioned when you talked to Adam and I last for our season preview that Marchessault seems like a different guy. Stamkos, Brady Shea, the same way. He's playing differently as well. I'm curious if you could take us through the process with him on the ice, because he had some things to say about, he thought that the team should adjust and how were they using him and things like that. It seems like all of that is in the past now. But Andrew Burnett's talked about the process, and that seems like it took some time. It wasn't just in training camp. It goes back to the summer.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think Andrew and the coaching staff have done an excellent job reconnecting with those players. It's hard to reconnect sometimes with players after a real difficult year because but they had some honest conversations. I think that's the strength of Andrew Burnett is he's been in all those situations. He's a guy that can relate. He's a guy that is easy to talk to. He's a guy that has been in the East Coast League, the American Hockey League, the National Hockey League, been traded a few times and played different styles. So he's got a lot of those experiences that he can relate. And I think him and Marchie connected. I think they had similar games too. I think that's where the connection really hit off. Is Marchie is one of those guys, just like Andrew was, with their super strengths were from the top of the circles into the goal and around the net, and they were just unbelievable players down there. And I think they've made that connection, and Andrew's not worrying about as much of what Marchie can't do, but what he can do and how he can help. And I think Marchie appreciates that, and Marchie's playing really well.
Barry, another thing that you have talked about, laying out what's to come here, is you want a lot of these young players to compete for the spots. And right now we're already seeing that. Joachim Kemmel's been in for a couple of games, rotates out. We mentioned Brady Martin. You've got Ozzy Weisblatt, who I think is going to get a shot tonight. If not tonight, then very soon. Yep. But you've got a lot of guys that you're hoping, I'm sure, will go up and grab a role. But how do you try to evaluate as they try to feel their way?
Well, I think you try to find the best fit. Someone's going to grab the ball with opportunity. You're going to get 2-game opportunities or maybe a 1-game opportunity. You got to make the most of it. And if you notice, we're not putting a lot of the players in roles. Like I said, the blend is there. Every line, for the most part, other than probably the Holla Bunting and Marchessault line, who hit it off from day one. All the other lines have a young player with 2 veterans in all 3 lines, the other 3 lines, and even on defense. I mean, we've got Brady Shea and Nick Hague, who are a little more veteran, I guess. But you have Roman Josi and Willsby playing together right now, who people tend to forget that Willsby only has, I think, 23 or 24 NHL games under his belt, and he's playing against top matchups at night in and night out. Spencer Stastny's got 25 games. Barron is probably got 100 and some games, but he hasn't had a full-time role, and now he does. And Nick Blankenberg, who hasn't played a regular season game so far, did a really great job for us last year. So the depth on our defense is really good. I mean, most of the guys that were finished the season with us, they're either playing in Milwaukee or they're playing in the minors with other teams in the National Hockey League. So fixing our defense. The buy-in of our veterans have done a great job of embracing the young kids and saying, hey, they're going to be part of the future. They're part of the now and the future. And let's go and play. I love the way that we play with a lot of structure. We've gotten good goaltending, and we're hanging in there. And that says a lot. That says a lot for growth. The best thing you can do for growth is have some success, and preparation led to that. The coaches were prepared. The players were very prepared, and we've had some early success. It's only 3 games in, but we've been able to rack up a few points early to get a little confidence. And if we can do it on the road here on a successful trip, then that'll go a long way for the rest of the season.
Barry, we're going to see Justus Sonnen tonight, and I'm curious with Ben Vanderklok and Mitch Korn, now that they've had him for a while, because it was December of last year that he joined you guys sort of on the run. You were kind of feeling each other out. He's got that frame. He's only 25 years old. He's got some games under his belt. What are some of the things that you guys have worked on with him to take him to another level?
Well, I think he was more of a blocker because of his size. I think Benny and Mitch have got him to tighten up just some of the, when he goes down, there's some activations that happen, automatics when you hit your knees. Sometimes your hands go down a little bit too low, or your stick comes up a little bit. They've worked on the little details to tighten up those little areas where you can get a leaky puck go through you when it shouldn't. And I think they've done a really good job with that. And then the next component they've asked is a little bit more working on even more mobility. He's pretty mobile for a big guy, but even a little bit more explosiveness and mobility. And the last component is really the reading of the game, and also being able to park situations. You get scored on, you got to park it and sort of get back on the horse and get your focus. And I think that comes with more and more experience, because the goaltending is your last line of defense, and sometimes they get the most blame when a goal goes through, but there's probably about 10 things that happened before that goal went in. So those are the things that, just being able to park certain things. They're working on the mental part of the game, but he's really done a really good job. We're really happy with him. And I mean, he's got a lot of the tools that the modern goaltenders have. I mean, he's a big man who moves really well. He really cares about his craft. So I've seen what Ben and Mitch have done over the years with goaltending. So we're really excited about our tandem. Juice has got off to a good start, and then Justus hopefully he'll get a good test here, because Toronto's a real good offensive team.
Barry Trotz is our guest on D-Mace, Vingan, and Donick. Barry, this is a hometown game for Steven Stamkos, still looking for his first goal of the season, but had a nice assist yesterday in Ottawa. I spoke to Stamkos last week, and he was telling me how it's just night and day for him personally, the way he has entered this season compared to last season, when, of course, he struggled to adapt to his new surroundings. You have called him a legacy player, and how difficult that transition can be. Are you sensing a freer, looser Steven Stamkos, not just on the ice, but around the rink as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think it's any player that has been in one spot for a long time, like Steven has, and it's got to be difficult. I equate it to, a marriage and then a divorce. There's always a time of hurt and healing, and I think he's gone through that. And now the Nashville Predators are his team, and he feels he can be hopefully leave his legacy in the time that he's here in Nashville. And I sense a freer, easier, he's a Nashville Predator now. I think the past is in the past, and he's looking forward to having a really good year. He's had, I don't know how many crossbars he's hit already, but he's shooting well. We just got to get him the puck a little bit more.
Predators general manager Barry Trotz has been our guest on D-Mace, Vingan, and Donick. He joins us every Tuesday during hockey season. Barry, thank you so much for your time as always, and enjoy the game tonight.
All right, thank you, guys. Keep up the good work.
Thank you, Barry. We will. 615-737-1025. Our phone and text lines are driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. We will bid adieu to Willie Donick here. He has to get ready for the Predators game against the Toronto Maple Leafs on FanDuel Sports Network. You can, of course, hear that game as well right here on 102.5 The Game. Puck drop at 6, pregame at 5 on 102.5 The Game. We will get back into the Titans coming up next. Your reaction, 615-737-1025. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, 102.5 The Game.
Hey, Derek Mason here. If you've heard me tell you about Dr. Lodge and his staff over at Cool Springs MD for some time. If you set out to lose weight, chances are it's not your first time setting a goal to shed some extra pounds only to face disappointment. But I got some news, and it's good because at Cool Springs MD, Dr. Lodge and his team understands the frustration of this cycle, and that is why they offer a different approach to weight loss. Their comprehensive weight loss program is led by Dr. Jeffrey Lodge and addresses the root cause of weight gain with tailored nutrition, exercise, blood test supplements, and more. They will customize a program specific to you and you only. So connect with Dr. Lodge at CoolSpringsMD.com today to schedule your appointment for a personalized weight loss plan just for you. That's Cool Springs MD, where your weight loss journey becomes a success story.
There's plenty of time now, but does Amy realize with the constant changeover here, the damage that's happened to the franchise in terms of the national perception and of what your ultimate candidates are going to think if they're given a choice between this job and another job where the owner doesn't make an annual change of a position in power?
Yeah, I think this is a very frustrating situation for everybody involved, including our owner. This job will be attractive. I have no doubt about that. But at the same time, I want to keep our focus right now on Mike McCoy leading this football team and focusing on the New England Patriots coming to town this Sunday. And like I said, we'll have plenty of time to talk about those things at a later time.
Well, that sounds nice, Chad Brinker. Let's focus on the Patriots. And we'll get to that at some point. We'll have to talk about Mike Vrabel. It's only Tuesday. We have until Friday to talk about Mike Vrabel. But Chad Brinker, ain't nobody talking about the New England Patriots this week. We're talking about you. Derek Mason is so fired up. He's hacking up his lung over there. You okay?
Man, yes.
Okay,
yes,
good.
Let's have some coconut.
So this will be an attractive job, says Chad Brinker. Well, let's talk about the attractiveness of this job. It is one of 32 NFL head coaching jobs.
Mm-hmm.
You hear that all the time. Well, it's one of 32. That is true. It is 1/32 of available head coaching positions in the NFL. So that's a check, I suppose. You get to live in Nashville. Y'all like living in Nashville, don't you? I love living in Nashville. Derek loves living in Nashville. So Nashville's great. I guess it depends on how you feel about Cam Ward. If you think that Cam Ward has promise as a quarterback, despite his sluggish start, that's a selling point.
Mm-hmm.
But outside of that, well, I guess you could add one more. Maybe. You tell me if we can add this one, Derek. Now that the president of football operations and general manager will be hiring the new head coach, there will be alignment in all of this. Brian Callahan was, of course, not hired by Mike Borgonzi. Maybe that's an attractive situation because they're all of your, theoretically, all of your situations will be tied together. But I'll put that sort of like a half because you never know with the Titans if that actually means anything.
Yes.
But how attractive do you really think this job will be, Derek?
Okay. I'm looking at this. Miami more than likely will have a new coach.
Correct.
Cleveland may have a new coach.
You can always make a safe bet that the Cleveland Browns could make a coaching change.
The Giants may.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see. New Orleans. Didn't they know they just
hired a
They
coach.
just hired their coach. Arizona just hired their coach not too long ago, too. So those are three teams that could potentially be hiring new coaches. More than likely will be hiring new coaches based upon their season this year and last year.
You said Miami,
Cleveland.
Mm-hmm.
And who else did I say? The Giants, probably. Those three teams may be looking for a new coach next year. So out of those three plus the Titans, which job is more attractive? Or I know your question was, is the Titans job attractive?
Mm-hmm.
If those four teams were sitting there at the end of the year and I went in and I said, which one of these teams do I want to be a part of?
And let's go over them one more time. Tennessee, Miami, Cleveland, and the Giants.
Well, if I'm looking at it, I would tend to believe the Giants may be the better job because their owner doesn't seem to be meddling in anything. Now, is the GM, that whole, thing they did with the trading and the signing of Daniels and not trading, not keeping Saquon? Okay, I get that. But are they a franchise known for their owner just being in the middle of everything? I don't think so. I could be wrong. I don't think that's the case. And plus, they got a quarterback, and they got one of the best young wide receivers in the National Football League.
Mm-hmm.
So they have building blocks that And even though, listen, the quarterback, Jackson Dart, I'm not saying he's going to be an all-world. I'm not even saying the Titans should have drafted him and given up the picks. I hope it does work out for the young kid. So they have them a young quarterback, a young receiver. They have a good defense. That's the job I may be looking at first. Miami may just as well. They may have better players, but at this point, they may be in the same boat as the Titans. Just the dysfunction within the culture. Within the
you heard Tua Tagovailoa's comments over the weekend, right?
So they may be just as bad when you're talking about a culture as the Titans.
Yeah.
And I think the Titans player culture may be better. It's the upper management, what's going on up there. I think the player culture is okay. They just hadn't found a way to win. They just don't have enough good people. So I will say this. After saying that, I say this. It wouldn't be my first job, but it damn sure out of these four, it wouldn't be the last on the list. I think, and Trevor said it right, I would be interviewing them more than they're interviewing me.
Agreed.
Because every job isn't a good job. Ben Johnson showed y'all that last year when he didn't take a job last year.
Mm-hmm.
He went back to the Lions, and maybe it probably was because he wanted to get more seasoned in interviewing. And he just felt, you know what, I'm going to go back and I'm going to relearn some things. And then the second go around, I'll be a lot better. But he went back to his former team. So every job ain't for everybody. Whoever takes this job, they better be sure in their mind that they have some type of control of what's going on, or they know who has the control, how this thing runs, and they're okay with it. Because I'm sure Brian Callahan didn't think he was going to get this quick of a hook. I'm sure he thought they were going to preach patience and cause them, considering the roster. Not a roster. The roster isn't good. So considering the roster, Brian Callahan thought he had the time. He didn't. They didn't give it to him. So what do you think the next coach is coming in? Seeing all this stuff, nothing which he put together. I'm interviewing you. Why you want to give me this job? And what are y'all going to do to make sure that I don't end up like the last few coaches and GMs? Is everything, who's the GM at first? I need to know who's making the decision. Is it you, Brinker, or is it Borgante? I got to know. Yes, we all talk to this thing, but I got to know ultimately who makes the decision. Is it the GM, or is it the supreme ruler of football? Which one? Because ultimately, somebody has to say, we're drafting him no matter what. That's the guy we're drafting, or that's the guy we're signing. All right? We got everybody's opinion. I listen to everybody. That's the guy we're drafting. So who is that? And then how do you plan on allowing me the time and space to make this roster better, or the players that y'all already got that I need to develop these players? Because I got to develop a lot of players, because some of these veterans won't be here. So I got a lot of guys that I got to develop. So what is the process? What are y'all going to give me? It's not about what I'm going to give y'all. What y'all going to give me to make sure this works?
Jason in Manchester on our text line says Cincinnati and Arizona could also have head coaching vacancies.
You may be right. I thought Arizona just hired their head coach not too long ago.
I want to say this is Gannon's second year.
Yeah, so you may be right. He may be gone too.
Second or third year. I'll have to confirm that.
Second.
It's his third. It's his third year in Arizona.
He may be out too.
He has a record of 14-26.
Yeah, he may just as well
over
be
parts
out too.
of 3 seasons. And look, I just watched the Cardinals throw up all over themselves a couple of weeks ago. You know, Kyler Murray is fine. I don't know much about the Cardinals organization. I'm not sure if you would put them ahead of the Titans in this situation. Cincinnati, you have Joe Burrow and T. Higgins and Jamar Chase, but you also have an oft-injured Joe Burrow.
Mm-hmm.
So that's part of the equation as well. Michael and Madison says, if the Giants continue on the course they're on, I don't think Brian Daboll will get fired after this year. So assuming the only jobs open are Tennessee, Miami, and Cleveland, I think the Titans are easily the most attractive situation solely based on the quarterback?
Yeah, because Cleveland, they don't know what they want to do with their quarterbacks. Miami is Tua Tagovailoa, the quarterback moving forward. And then their whole culture, it just seems like, man, you got to go in there. You just got to wipe that thing clean. And bring in, like, start building your own pillars, because it doesn't seem like they have much going on down in South Florida. So yeah, you're right. I mean, if you're looking at it from that standpoint, but then again, the Titans may look bright at the quarterback position, but upper management doesn't, and then the bottom half of this roster doesn't. And you're gonna have to allow me at least 2 years to build this, 2 to 3. This is going to, unless Cam with McCoy, he just, that progression speeds up a little bit more, because McCoy talked about it. Things are so fast to him right now. It just needs to slow down. If McCoy can get him to slow down and play, which means McCoy is going to keep the job if that happens. Not only, okay, I got that, but are you going to give me the time to, because this is 3 years. This is this is a 3-year process, and they've been jerking it around for the last 2 years. Really, they were supposed to have this all situated before they moved in that statement. I said this years ago when they said, we have given the green light on building that stadium. I said, when they said the stadium is a go, the clock started for you, Tennessee Titans, and you better have a winning organization by the time you move it to that stadium. This is something that anybody should have foreseen. The minute you said, I need some money to build a new stadium, $1 billion stadium, that's when the clock started, when they said, yes, we're going to give it to you. Yes, we're going to build you a new stadium. That's when the clock started on Miss Amy. You better have a team ready to go. And now you put yourself 2 years behind because of all of this interchanging and firing coaches and GMs and all this other stuff. Now it's a hard deadline. And you don't want no hard deadlines in this business. It's a hard one. You better have a team ready to go by the time you by the time you open up those doors to go into that stadium. She needs to have a winning product.
That feels like a near impossibility. I know NFL teams have turned around in a couple of years.
Yes.
But I have seen nothing from this organization over the past few years that suggests that they will be, and when I say competitive,
I don't even want them competitive. I want them winning. Damn competitive. Competitive is for losers. Being competitive is for losers. Because you can be competitive and lose every game.
I mean by competitive,
I'm not getting on you.
I know, but what I mean, to be clear, what I mean by competitive is a team that you are actually willing to sit down and watch on a Sunday
that can win
and not turn off the TV and go, I am never getting those 3 hours of my life back. On my deathbed, I will say to myself, man, I wish I had spent 3 more hours with my children instead of watching the Titans lose to the Raiders. That's all I'm asking for.
Yeah. And
that's all I'm asking
I'm
for.
sure that's what every other Titan fan is asking for as well. Just get us through the game where we have hope. But again, in this business, being competitive no longer is, for me, the priority, because that's what the league wants. They want everybody competitive. Why do you think they give the worst team the first pick and the second worst team more than likely the second pick, unless they've done some things with trades? Because they want everybody 9-7, 7-9. Okay, so yes, competitive is okay, but it's that winning football. I want you to win. Tired of being competitive. Competitive gets you nowhere. It doesn't get you a medal. It doesn't get you a Super Bowl. Win. That's what gets you Super Bowls. Just win. We were competitive in 99. We won a bunch of games, but we didn't win a Super Bowl. Being competitive no longer is just the end all be all.
Well, it depends.
You got to be a little bit more.
It depends on what your definition of competitive is, because everybody has a different definition of competitive. I know Willie's not here to defend himself.
Mhm.
I'm going to maybe put words in Willie's mouth, but
Mhm.
we're friends, so it's okay. When we talk about the NHL and being competitive in the NHL, to me, the definition of competitive is, can your team legitimately win a championship this season? That is competitive. That is my definition of competitive. Can you win the Stanley Cup? It's a yes or no question. And if the answer is no, you're not competitive. I think Willie's definition is if you can make the playoffs. Are you competitive if you can make the playoffs? I disagree with that definition. When it comes to the Titans, I am willing to say by
So
the
you really
time,
set the bar low.
well, with the Titans, I'm willing to say if by 2027, can you still be in the hunt graphic on the broadcasts in week 14? Like, you don't have to be in a playoff spot. But when they say like division leaders, wild card, in the hunt, can the Titans be in the hunt graphic? That's all I'm asking for. And that seems like it's so far away.
It is, Adam. But they never, when they talk about winning teams, whether it was the Patriots, Indianapolis, the Lakers, Boston, who else? Hell, Florida Panthers, they just won a championship.
2 in a row.
2 in a row. They don't talk about them as being competitive. Those are winners. You don't say winners are competitive. Winners are winners. Competitive is for everybody else. Y'all all be competitive. I'm winning up here. Do you ever hear them talk about Kansas City Chiefs being competitive? No, because they win championships. They don't say every year, Kansas City's competitive this year. They just want to be competitive. No, they want to win championships. That's what they talk about. We're relegated to talking about being competitive. I get it, because we hadn't won around here in some years. But when Vrabel was coaching his team and they was winning, did they ever talk about being competitive? Thank you, Vrabel. He didn't talk about being competitive. He wants to win.
That gets me every time.
That's what it's about, winning. Competitive mean we ain't got a chance to win. But because it's the league and we got players, then yeah, we're going to be competitive. But at the end of the day, we're going to lose.
I just have to say,
I like how you threw that.
That was great.
Yeah, that was great.
Whenever I say probably not in my daily life, I say it like Mike Vrabel. Like if my wife asks me about something, I'll go, probably not. And she has no idea what I'm talking about. But
now she does.
But I can't hear it. I can't unhear it, I should say. 615-737-1025. We'll take your reaction. Robert in Spring Hill says, Derek and Adam, you are now the person hiring for the Titans. Who do you hire? Since you have a lot of experience in professional sports, meaning Derek, and professional sports coverage, meaning me, who do you want the Titans to go after first? Well, Robert in Spring Hill. Coming up next, I will tell you who I absolutely, positively do not want under any circumstances the Titans to go after for this coaching opening. 615-737-1025. Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, 1025. The Game.
Derek Mason here. If you've injured yourself in a motorcycle accident, go to lawtigers.com for your free case evaluation. Even if your accident was months ago, you have nothing to lose by calling Law Tigers. Insurance companies want to pay out as little as possible, or frankly, nothing at all. Law Tigers make sure you get the compensation you deserve and doesn't get paid until your case has been settled. Look, they understand how much your bike is worth to you, so they will get it all repaired, or better yet, replaced. Law Tigers is the resource the motorcycle community turns to when in need. So whether it's to support you at an event, or if they see you broken down on the side of the road, with Law Tigers, you'll never ride alone. So call 1-800-LAW-TIGERS or visit lawtigers.com. Law Tigers is powered by Freeman and Fuson. You can find them in Nashville, located at 2126 21st Ave South. That's Law Tigers, Tennessee's motorcycle lawyers.
D. Mace, Vingan, and Donick 1025. The game. Derek Mason, Adam Vingan here with you. Predators pregame coming up in roughly 15 minutes. The Predators 2-0-1 on the season. We'll look to make it 3-0-1 or 2-0-2. Keep that point streak going against the Toronto Maple Leafs. Puck drop at 6. And as I just said, pregame at 5 right here on 1025. The game. We will be back to our regularly scheduled 3 to 6 tomorrow. Jonathan Hutton will join us at 5 o'clock. Silly Underdog Picks at 5:20. Clark Lee will join us at 4 for 4-0 Clark ahead of Vanderbilt's matchup this weekend against LSU. By the way, Vanderbilt favored in that game last I checked. The first time in God knows how long that Vanderbilt was favored against LSU. The line at the moment is Vanderbilt minus 2.5 at First Bank Stadium. So we will talk to Clark Lee tomorrow at 4:00/Clark. Now, before the break, Derek, Robert in Spring Hill, we read his text message asking who would we want the Titans to go after first as the Titans' next coach. And I'll be honest with you, I haven't put a lot of thought into that yet. We have a lot of time to discuss this, and I will put more effort, more research into it over the next weeks and months. But I'm here to tell you right now, Derek Mason,
Yes.
I want to eliminate one potential Titans coach from consideration. I heard Big Joe Dubin this afternoon. He wanted to plant his flag at midfield at Nissan Stadium. He wants Arthur Smith, former Titans OC, current Steelers OC, former Falcons head coach, to be the Titans' next head coach. I am going to do the same thing, except I'm going to plant my flag on one coach who I want nowhere near the Tennessee Titans, and that's John Gruden. To quote my 4-year-old son, when I ask him to do something he doesn't want to do, no. I am absolutely not interested in John Gruden as the Titans head coach. And John Gruden's name is out there. He's working his way back into the NFL ecosystem. He's working for Barstool Sports. We know that John Gruden, he has an engaging personality. We remember him from his days calling Monday Night Football. But to borrow a phrase from Cam Ward, if we keeping it a buck, let's just be real. John Gruden was caught with emails in which he made racist, homophobic, and misogynistic remarks. I believe he is in litigation with the NFL right now. That's a whole nother thing. And I want to be clear about something. I am all about giving people second chances. So before you text in and say, Adam is canceling John Gruden. First of all, he's not canceled because he's back. I am not canceling John Gruden. First, unless I'm not mistaken, I don't know if John Gruden has shown that he's done anything to improve himself.
He's just been gone.
He's just been gone. Now, he may have done it behind the scenes. I don't know. But it is often the case with these things. I want to see growth. I want to see you show me that you have learned from your past mistakes and you won't do them again. As far as I know, I want to emphasize this. As far as I know, John Gruden hasn't done that. Okay? So that's number one. Number two, the last time he coached, he wasn't very good at it. He was 22-31 with the Raiders between 2018 and 2021. And yes, I know he won the Super Bowl more than 20 years ago. And to this day, you can go down to Tampa, Florida. I spend a lot of time in Tampa, Florida. My in-laws live in Tampa, Florida. You can go down to Tampa, Florida, and they will still debate whether John Gruden won that Super Bowl with Tony Dungy's team.
Oh, yeah.
So I know that he is a popular choice when I've read all of these lists of coaches who the Titans could hire or should consider. John Gruden is on those lists. Not interested. And frankly, I don't think he's going to be a candidate for this job, but I'm just going to tell you right now, I want nothing to do with John Gruden as head coach of the Tennessee Titans.
I'm not
No
sure.
groomers. No groomers, Vols fans. I want 0 groomers.
You don't want to be nicey. That's what I'm hearing.
No groomers.
I don't think the Titans, you can't add more fuel to the fire. There's already a fire going on. You bring in Gruden, then there's the questions and all this other stuff. Yeah, your past and everything else. You got to explain why you hired him based upon his, the things that he said. Listen, yeah, they were leaked, but he said them point blank. He wrote them down. I don't care how they were released. Those were his words via a text or email.
Emails.
Those were his thoughts. Okay. So whether they got out by accident, somebody leaked them, it doesn't matter to me. He said it. Okay. But that's neither here nor there. For the Titans, they need to hire someone that has already did this. And I do hope that Mike McCoy can right this ship. At least get it sort of, turned or starting to turn around. I hope he can in 11, 12 weeks, 13 weeks, whatever it is. Because he's the type of coach that I think you hire. A guy that has done it. I don't want him to have offensive control, play calling. No, I don't want him to have that. No, I want him to hire someone that does that has done it on game day. I don't want you to do it. You know why? Because you hadn't did it in a few years. So I don't want you to do it. You be the head coach. Though that is your title. We tried this, head coach / offensive coordinator, didn't work out. Okay. I need you to just be head coach. That's it. So this is your trial run right here. You get it. You get an opportunity. First crack at the job. Let's see how you do. I don't need you to call plays. Keep Bo Hardigree as play caller. I just want to see how you do as a head coach. Now, if we do hire, you can keep Bo Hardigree or you can hire someone else. But I do not, and I repeat, I do not want you calling plays. Just run my team. That's all I want you to do. That's what I want from a coach. I want a guy that has been in this position before, that understands both sides of the football and special teams, but can galvanize, that can rally his team, not by play calling, but by just knowing and feeling the heartbeat in the pulse of his locker room. That's what I want. That was John Harbaugh. Okay? That was Jeff Fisher. I know Jeff had experience. He was a defensive back coach, and I think he may have, I don't know if he ran a special team or whatever. I don't think he was a coordinator before he came a head coach. I could be wrong on that. But that was somebody that knew both sides. Like he knew a little bit of special teams or defense, definitely. But he hired people. He outsourced for offense. And he built the team. Built the team on one premise and one premise alone. We are going to be hard to play against. We are going to be physical and disciplined. That's what we're going to be. And intelligent. That's what we're going to be. They need a coach that's going to implement that. I don't necessarily need him to be a defensive guru or an offensive guru. We tried that. You see how it worked? Didn't. Just get me a coach that can coach a team and have him hire or outsource his other guys.
Neil on our text line says that John Gruden's 22 wins with the Raiders the second time around are 18 more than Brian Callahan had. So,
yeah, you got a point there. But has Gruden been gone too long?
One texter says, why are you mad about someone's opinion? As long as he's not acting on them, he's done nothing legally wrong. You just don't agree with his opinions. How does someone's thoughts affect you?
Again, that's what you're thinking. That is the most idiot, and I'm going to say this, that's the most idiotic thing you can ever text somebody.
John Gruden would be an ambassador of the organization.
Exactly. He wrote them down on a piece of paper. It doesn't matter if he didn't leak them out. Somebody else did. But those were his thoughts. That's how he felt at that time. How you tell me that doesn't matter? That doesn't make any sense. It's like, gosh, I'm not comparing him to saying, oh, I'm going to murder somebody. That's not what we're saying. He said some things that wasn't cool. That's how he felt. We hope he's changed. I didn't say he didn't. And I didn't say they couldn't hire him. But I said they would have to explain all of that stuff. In the midst of this organization being on fire a little bit already, do y'all want that too? And what if it don't work out? See, I'm thinking long term. I'm not thinking right about now.
Yes. Well,
Man,
I got everybody fired up at the end of the show.
thank you.
That puts
Appreciate
you in the proper mood for Predators hockey. The Predators take on the Toronto Maple Leafs. Puck drop at 6. Pre-game starts in just a matter of moments right here on 102.5 The Game. We will be back full 3 hours tomorrow from 3 to 6. Clark Lee, Jonathan Hutton, Silly Underdog Picks. We'll do it all 3 to 6 tomorrow right here on 102.5 The Game.
Be loving your people. Have a safe, blessed, and wonderful day. I love you. The team love you. And to that texter, I didn't mean that. I apologize. Believe me, I really do apologize.
He's lying.
I'm about nothing but love. So I apologize, but I got a little bit heated, but I apologize. But you know what? As I say every day, you hear that song. Don't you forget about us. Please don't, because we won't forget about you, because we will be back tomorrow at the same time, same station. Peace.
Forget about me.